My best friend tried to ruin my marriage, and I still don't fully understand why. I'm 29 and I met my best friend Sarah when I was 11 years old. My family had just moved to a new country and my sister-in-law introduced us. Sarah was the first real friend I made here. We grew up together, went through middle school and high school and stayed close into adulthood. She was at my wedding. She knew my husband before I did actually because we all went to the same school. My husband is 31 and we've been together for years now. We have a 2-year-old. Our lives look pretty normal. I work in an office from 9 to 2 with a half-hour break for second breakfast. Sometimes I walk 5 minutes to my husband's office and we eat together. Sometimes I go to a cafe. It's a routine, nothing special. Sarah and I share some friends, but we also have separate groups. She knows parts of my schedule, the casual stuff. If I have to travel for work, I'll mention it. Just out of habit, last week I had a work trip scheduled for Wednesday, but Tuesday night there was a red weather alert, flooding warnings all over, so my trip got canceled. I stayed home with our 2-year-old. My husband left at 6 in the morning to go make sure his business was closed and put up flood barriers. He was back by 7:30 making breakfast. The rain didn't even start until 1 in the afternoon. We didn't go anywhere until Friday, just the three of us hanging out at home playing with the kid, cooking, watching movies. It was boring and lovely. At 3 in the afternoon on that same Wednesday, Sarah texted me. She asked if I was home already because there was flooding where I was supposed to travel to. I texted back home safe and that was it. We didn't talk again until Saturday. Saturday morning we have the same gym class. After class, Sarah pulled me aside and said we needed to talk in private, so we went out to my car. She looked serious, almost guilty, but also kind of excited in a weird way. She told me straight out, "On Wednesday I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out and your kid was in the car." I froze, my whole body went cold. For a second my brain just stopped working, then I remembered I was home, my husband was home, our kid was home. We had been together all day. I asked her 3 times if she was sure it was this Wednesday. She confirmed 3 times, yes, Wednesday. She gave me a time around 11 in the morning. I asked if it was during the red alert and she said yes. I asked if she was absolutely 100% sure and she nodded and launched into a full description. My husband making out with a gorgeous Barbie-looking blonde girl in his car, the kid in the back seat. She even went into detail about the blonde's hair and outfit. I didn't scream, I just looked at her and said, "That's impossible." She was with me all day, we didn't leave the house. She looked shocked, not the kind of shocked you get when you realize you made a mistake, the kind of shocked you get when your plan backfires and you're trying to figure out what to say next. I told her again that we were home together, that I had texted her at 3 and said I was home safe and that I had been home since the night before. She fumbled for words. She said she must have gotten the wrong day. I pointed out that she had confirmed Wednesday 3 times. She said she was just trying to protect me. She said she thought she saw what she saw. Then she started crying. I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt numb. I drove home. I told my husband everything. He was confused at first, then angry, then just disappointed. We both knew what she was trying to do. She wanted me to think he was cheating. She wanted to break us up. But why? She's my best friend. She's been there for every big moment. She was the one who helped me plan my baby shower. She was at the hospital when I gave birth. But lately, I had noticed little things. She would make comments about my husband, how he wasn't good enough for me, how I could do better. She would ask why I stayed home so much, why I didn't go out with her more. She'd say I was boring since I became a mom. I brushed it off. I thought she was just in a rough spot. She's single, she's been through a few bad relationships, and I figured she was projecting. But this was different. This was an active attempt to destroy my marriage. I haven't confronted her since the car. She's texted a few times. Apologizing, saying she made a mistake, saying she was worried about me and let her imagination run wild. I haven't responded. My husband is furious. He's never liked her that much, but he tolerated her for me. Now he wants me to cut her off completely, and I don't know what to do. Because part of me still wants to believe it was a weird misunderstanding. But I know it was. She lied. She created a whole story with specific details. She wanted me to feel the pain of betrayal. She wanted me to fall apart so she could pick up the pieces. And the worst part is I don't know why. What did she gain from this? Was she jealous of my marriage? Did she want me to be single and miserable like her? Did she think I would leave my husband and then she'd have more time to hang out, more freedom to drag me to bars and parties? That doesn't make sense. I have a kid. I'm not leaving my husband over a lie, unless she thought I would believe it, and I almost did. For that first split second, I almost believed her. That's the terrifying part. She knows me well enough to know exactly how to hurt me. I'm still sitting on it. I haven't replied to her texts. I'm not sure I ever will. My husband says we should just move on, block her, and never talk to her again. But I keep thinking about our history, 11 years of friendship. All those sleepovers, all those secrets, all those times she was there for me. Is that worth nothing now? Or is the friendship already dead because she was willing to torch it over something I still don't understand? I feel like I'm waiting for an explanation that will never come. And honestly, I don't know if I want one, because whatever she says, it's not going to make it okay. That story hit close to home because I've been dealing with something similar, except it's not a friend. It's my dad. And the betrayal started when I was 13 years old. I'm 33 now and I've been no contact with my father for 17 years. That's more than half my life. And I still remember the day he told us he was leaving. It was a Tuesday in April. I came home from school and my mom was sitting at the kitchen table with this look I'd never seen before. My dad was standing by the back door holding a duffel bag. He said he needed to prioritize himself. That's the phrase he used. I need to prioritize myself and my happiness. He had been having an affair with a woman named Jane. He met her at work. She was younger, no kids, and she wanted him, so he left. I was 13, my sister was 11, we cried, we begged. I remember grabbing his arm and he just pulled away and said, I'll still see you every weekend, nothing will change, but everything changed. At first he kept his word. We'd go to his new apartment every Saturday morning. He'd take us to the park, buy us pizza, pretend things were normal. Jane was always there. She'd smile too wide and ask about school and I hated her. I hated the way she touched his arm, the way she called him babe, the way she looked at us like we were guests in his life. Then she got pregnant, they had a son, and the visits started dropping off. He'd cancel because the baby was sick, he'd show up late because family stuff came up. He missed my 8th grade recital. He missed my sister's soccer championship. He'd send a text saying, sorry, can't make it, next time for sure. Next time never came. When I was 16, Jane got a job offer 10 hours away. She wanted to move. My sister and I begged our dad not to go. I remember sitting in his living room, the baby crying in the background, and I said, please don't leave us. You're already gone. Don't make it final. He looked at the floor and said, I need to prioritize my family. I asked him, what are we, chopped liver? He didn't answer, they moved, and that was the end for me. I decided I wasn't going to keep chasing someone who didn't want to be caught. I went no contact, no more calls, no more texts. I blocked his number. I told my mom I didn't want to hear about him. My sister didn't cut him off. She kept in touch. She'd visit him once a year. She'd send him birthday cards. She's always been softer than me. She's the one who still hoped he'd change. I didn't hope, I just got angry. He tried to reach out over the years. He'd call from unknown numbers. He'd send letters. He'd show up at my mom's house when he knew I'd be there. I'd walk past him like he was a stranger. He sent a message through my grandmother once asking if I'd come to his wedding to Jane. I said no. He sent another message when I graduated high school saying he wanted to see me in my cap and gown. I didn't respond. I didn't invite him to my college graduation either. I was 22 when my sister got married. She asked me to be a bridesmaid. I said yes. Then she told me she invited our dad. I said I wouldn't go. She cried. She said I was being unfair. I told her she could have him at her wedding or she could have me. She chose me, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. That still stings. She had a baby shower 2 years ago. I didn't go because he was there. I sent a gift. I saw pictures on Facebook. He's holding my nephew, smiling. He looks like a happy grandfather. And I felt this rage boil up inside me because he never held me like that. Not after he left. 3 months ago, he moved back to our hometown. Him, Jane, and their son, my half-brother who's now 17. They moved into a house 3 blocks from where I grew up, and since then he's been relentless. He started with texts. I guess he got my number from my sister. Messages like, I'd love to see you, I miss you. I know I made mistakes, but I've changed. Can we just have coffee? I deleted them without replying. Then my half-brother started messaging me on social media. I'd never even spoken to him. He sent me a friend request. I ignored it. Then he sent a message saying, hey, I know we don't know each other, but Dad really wants to make things right. Could you give him a chance? I didn't know how to respond. He's just a kid. He didn't ask for any of this, but I still said no. The final straw was last week. My dad showed up at my apartment. I live alone. I was coming home from work and he was sitting on the steps. He looked older, grayer, softer. He stood up and said, please just talk to me for 5 minutes. I said, I have nothing to say to you. He started crying. He said, I know I was a bad father. I know I chose Jane over you, but I was lost back then. I'm not that person anymore. I said, you're still that person, you just got older. He said, Jane cheated on me twice. One of the affairs was with her best friend's husband. I caught them. I know now what I put you and your mom through. I know I destroyed our family. I've been in therapy. I want to make it right. I stood there for a second. Part of me wanted to laugh. Part of me wanted to scream. I said, you don't get to come back just because your life fell apart. You didn't care when mine was falling apart. You weren't there when I needed a dad. You were busy with your new family. And now that your new family isn't perfect, you want to crawl back. He didn't say anything. I walked past him, unlocked my door, and closed it behind me. I heard him say, I love you. I didn't answer. I called my sister that night. She already knew he'd come. She said, he's been telling everyone he wants to reconcile. He even asked my husband if they could set up a meeting. I said, I don't want to. She said, I get it, but I also think you're going to regret this one day. I said maybe, but I'd regret letting him back in more. She didn't push. She never does. She's the one who still has a relationship with him, but she respects my boundary. She's the only one who does. Now my half-brother keeps messaging me. He says he understands if I don't want to talk to my dad, but he'd like to know his sister. He says he didn't ask for this situation either. And I believe him. He's innocent. But every time I look at his face, I see my father. I see the family he chose over me. I don't know what to do about him. I don't know if I can separate the kid from the betrayal. And my dad, he's still texting every few days, apologizing, explaining, begging. He left a voicemail last night saying, I made a mistake, I've paid for it, I just want my daughter back. I deleted it. But I can't sleep. I keep thinking about that Tuesday when I was 13. I keep thinking about how I cried so hard I threw up. And I think about how he didn't even turn around. He just walked out the door. Now he's back and he wants me to open that door again. But I don't know if I can. I don't know if I should. Because the message that keeps playing in my head is the one he said 17 years ago. I need to prioritize my family. He meant Jane and their son, he didn't mean me. So why should I believe he means me now? I walked past him, unlocked my door, and closed it behind me. I heard him say, I love you. I didn't answer. I called my sister that night. She already knew he'd come. She said, he's been telling everyone he wants to reconcile. He even asked my husband if they could set up a meeting. I said, I don't want to. She said, I get it, but I also think you're going to regret this one day. I said, maybe, but I'd regret letting him back in more. She didn't push. She never does. She's the one who still has a relationship with him, but she respects my boundary. She's the only one who does. Now my half-brother keeps messaging me. He says he understands if I don't want to talk to my dad, but he'd like to know his sister. He says he didn't ask for this situation either, and I believe him. He's innocent. But every time I look at his face, I see my father. I see the family he chose over me. I don't know what to do about him. I don't know if I can separate the kid from the betrayal. And my dad, he's still texting every few days, apologizing, explaining, begging. He left a voicemail last night saying, I made a mistake, I've paid for it, I just want my daughter back. I deleted it. But I can't sleep. I keep thinking about that Tuesday when I was 13. I keep thinking about how I cried so hard I threw up. And I think about how he didn't even turn around, he just walked out the door. Now he's back and he wants me to open that door again. But I don't know if I can, I don't know if I should, because the message that keeps playing in my head is the one he said 17 years ago. I need to prioritize my family. He meant Jane and their son, he didn't mean me. So why should I believe he means me now? That wasn't the only time someone I trusted tried to tear my life apart for no reason I could understand. I met my best friend Sarah when I was 11. My family had just moved to a new country and my sister-in-law introduced us. Sarah was the same age as me. We clicked immediately. We went through middle school together, high school together, all the awkward phases and the bad haircuts and the first crushes. She was at my wedding. She held my hand when I was in labor with my daughter. She was the godmother, for God's sake. I thought we were sisters. I'm 29 now. I have a husband, Mark, and a 2-year-old. We live in a small city and I work in an office from 9 to 2 most days. I take my lunch break at 10 in the morning, second breakfast I call it, and sometimes I walk 5 minutes to Mark's office or I hit a cafe nearby. Sometimes I have to travel for work, go to another city for a meeting or a training. It's not often, but it happens. Sarah knew that. She'd ask me about my week and I'd mention if I had to go out of town. Casual, normal. Last Tuesday there was a red alert for heavy flooding on Wednesday. My work trip got canceled. I stayed home with my daughter. Mark left at 6 in the morning to close up his business and set up flood protection. By 7:30 he was back. He made us pancakes. The rain didn't start until 1 in the afternoon. We stayed inside, watched movies, played with blocks. It was a normal day. At 3 Sarah texted me, "Are you home already? I heard it's flooding where you were supposed to be." I replied, "Home safe." That was it. On Saturday we had our usual gym class together. Sarah pulled me aside after and said we needed to talk in private. I thought maybe she was having marriage trouble or something. We went out to my car and she sat in the passenger seat and she looked at me with this sad, serious face and said, "On Wednesday I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out and your kid was in the car." I froze. For a second my brain couldn't process it. Then I remembered. Wednesday I was home. Mark was home. We were eating pancakes. I asked her, "Are you sure it was this Wednesday?" She said yes. I asked again. She said yes. I asked her what time. She said around 11 in the morning. I said during the red alert. She said yes. I asked her if she was 100% sure, and she launched into this whole description. She said Mark was making out with some gorgeous blonde, a Barbie lookalike, in a car with my daughter in the back seat. She described the parking lot. She described the woman's hair. She described everything in such detail that if I hadn't known the truth, I would have believed her. But I knew the truth. I sat there in my car in the gym parking lot and I felt the blood drain from my face. Not because I thought Mark was cheating, but because my best friend was lying. She was lying with such conviction. She had rehearsed this. I said, "Sarah, Mark was home with me on Wednesday. We were home all day. He made breakfast. We never left the house." She blinked. Her face went blank. I said, "The work trip was canceled because of the weather. We were together. I was holding my daughter when you texted me." She didn't apologize. She just said, "Oh, well, maybe I got the day wrong." I said, "You said it was Wednesday 3 times. You described it in detail." She said, "Maybe it was a different day." I said, "No, you were specific. You wanted me to believe this." She got out of my car. She said, "I was just trying to look out for you." I drove home. I was shaking. I told Mark everything. He was furious. He said, "She wanted to break us up. She wanted to hurt you." I didn't want to believe it, but I thought back to recent months. Sarah had been weird. She'd make comments about how I never had time for her anymore, how Mark was controlling, how I should go out more. I'd brushed it off. I thought she was just stressed. Now I realized she was planting seeds. I texted her that night. I said, "I need you to tell me the truth. Why did you lie?" She replied, "I didn't lie. I made a mistake." I said, "You didn't make a mistake. You described a scene that didn't happen. You knew where I was. You texted me at 3 on Wednesday and I told you I was home." She didn't reply. The next day I found out from a mutual friend that Sarah had been telling people I was in denial. She told someone I saw Mark with another woman. She just doesn't want to face it. She was spreading the story. She was trying to isolate me. That was when everything changed. I called her. I said, "You're telling people my husband cheated. You're trying to turn my friends against me. Why?" She was quiet for a long time, then she said, "You don't hang out with me anymore, you're always with Mark, you have this perfect little family and I'm stuck alone." I said, "So you tried to destroy my marriage?" She said, "I didn't think you'd believe me." I hung up. I haven't spoken to her since. I told our mutual friends what happened. Most of them believed me because they knew I was home that Wednesday. A few didn't. A few said, well, she wouldn't just make something up. And I realized those people weren't my friends. I lost Sarah. But I also lost some other people. It hurts. But every time I want to call her, I remember that moment in the car. I remember the lie. I remember the detail. I remember she wanted to take my family away because she was jealous. That's not a friend. That's a saboteur. And I can't afford to have anyone like that in my life. But if you think that was bad, let me tell you about what happened with my sister-in-law. It's a whole different kind of crazy. I'm 27, my fiancé George is 38, and my brother David is 33. My sister-in-law Ella is 34. And the whole mess started 4 years before I even met George. Here's the timeline. George and Ella dated for 6 months. She wanted marriage and kids. He didn't. He was also going through a rough patch, partying, doing drugs, not exactly reliable. They broke up in drama because she couldn't get him to commit. Then within a year and a few months, she met my brother David, got married, and was already calling herself his wife. I didn't even know George existed back then. I met George 2 years ago. I had no idea he was Ella's ex. He was just this guy I met through mutual friends. He was quiet, seemed a little broken, but he was kind. When he started feeling attracted to me, something clicked in him. He quit drinking completely. He quit drugs. He started therapy. He turned his whole life around. I watched him do it. I was there for every step, and I fell in love with the man he became. But when Ella found out I was dating George, she lost it. She was already married to my brother. She had a 2-year-old with him. She had no reason to care who George dated, but she did. She told everyone I was being groomed. I was 25, George was 36. That's an 11-year age gap, yeah, but I was a grown woman. She called it abuse. She said George was trying to turn me into an addict. She said he was manipulating me. She made up stories about him beating his ex-girlfriends. She said he had a secret gambling addiction. None of it was true. I knew because I lived with him. I saw his bank statements. I talked to his therapist, but she didn't stop. She started calling my parents, telling them I was in danger. My mom called me crying, asking if I needed help. I had to send her screenshots of George's therapy appointments and his drug test results. My dad believed me, but he was worried. My brother David was stuck in the middle. He loved his wife, but he also loved me. Ella started showing up at places I went, the grocery store, the gym, my coffee shop. She'd walk up to me and whisper, "He's going to hurt you. I know him better than you." I started getting panic attacks every time I saw a car that looked like hers. Then George proposed. He did it at a small dinner with my parents and my brother. He got down on one knee and I said yes. Ella wasn't there. We didn't invite her because we knew she'd ruin it, but my brother told her that night. The next day she posted on Facebook, "Some people never learn." I tried to warn her he's a predator. My brother confronted her. She said she was just looking out for me. He said, "She's my sister, you need to stop." She said, "You're choosing her over your wife," and he said, "I'm choosing the truth." That's when she got banned from our family. My mom called her and said, "You are not welcome at any family event until you apologize and get help." My dad backed her up. My brother didn't say a word. He just sat there looking at the floor. Ella went ballistic. She called my parents' house and left voicemails screaming that they were destroying her marriage. She said I was a homewrecker. She said George was a monster. She threatened to call the police on me for harassment because I had asked her to stop contacting me. I didn't press charges, I just blocked her, but she started sending me messages from fake numbers. "You'll regret this," she wrote. "He'll cheat on you like he cheated on me." Except he never cheated on her. He broke up with her because she pressured him to propose after 4 months. I know because I saw the messages she sent him back then. She wrote, "If you don't marry me, you're worthless." He ended it the next day. I told David everything. He broke down. He said, "I thought I knew her. I thought she was just jealous because you're happy, but this is insane." A few weeks later, David found out that Ella had been texting George's ex-girlfriend trying to get dirt on him. The ex-girlfriend was no angel. She'd had a bad breakup with George too, but she told Ella, "I don't have anything to say. He's not the same person." Ella still kept calling. Finally, my brother told her they needed therapy. She refused. She said I was the one who needed therapy. He said, "If you can't stop attacking my sister, I can't live with you." She packed a bag and went to her mother's. That was 2 months ago. They're still separated. David has custody of their son on weekends. He's heartbroken. He loves her, but he loves me too, and he knows now that she will never accept me having George. I don't know what happens next. Ella keeps trying to apologize, but it's half-assed. She'll say, "I'm sorry if I overreacted," and then she'll add, "But you need to understand I was just worried." She never actually admits she lied. George and I are still engaged. We're planning a wedding for next spring. My brother is going to be George's best man, and Ella is not invited. My mom made that clear. She said, "If she shows up, I'm calling the police." I feel bad for David, I do, but I can't forgive Ella. She tried to destroy my relationship because she couldn't stand that George got his life together for me and not for her. That's not my problem, that's her insecurity. I just hope my brother sees it before it's too late. But while I was dealing with that, my husband's situation with his dad was about to blow up. I'm not the one at the center of this one, it's my husband, Luke. But I lived through it with him, so I'll tell you what happened. I was 13 when my dad had an affair and left my mom. He moved in with his affair partner, Jane. At first, me and my sister Emily would visit every weekend. He was a good dad back then. I never liked Jane, but I tolerated her because I wanted to see my dad. When Jane got pregnant and had their son, the visits started drying up. He'd miss my recitals or Emily's competitions because he was busy with his new son. He'd cancel last minute saying the baby was sick or Jane needed help. I remember sitting at the piano for 20 minutes after my recital ended, waiting for him to show up. He never did. I was 14. That was the first time I cried about him. When I was 16, Jane announced she got a job offer 10 hours away. She wanted to move. Me and Emily begged him not to leave us. I literally got on my knees in their living room. I said, "Dad, please, we see you so little already. If you move, we'll never see you." He looked at me with this tired expression and said, "I need to prioritize my family." He meant Jane and their son, not me, not Emily. They moved. That was the end of our relationship. I went no contact right then. I didn't answer his calls. I deleted his number. Emily stayed in contact, but I couldn't. He was a stranger to me. Over the years, he tried to reach out. He'd call from different numbers. He'd send cards with money inside. He'd ask Emily to pass along messages. I ignored all of it. I didn't invite him to my high school graduation. I didn't invite him to my college graduation. I got married in a small courthouse ceremony with just my mom and Emily. He found out from a distant cousin and showed up at my apartment 2 days later. I didn't open the door. I stood behind it holding the chain lock, listening to him knock for 15 minutes. He left a voicemail saying, "I just want to see my little girl." I deleted it without listening all the way through. Emily stayed in touch with him and that caused some tension between us. She said, "He's trying, you should give him a chance." I said, "He had his chance when I was 16 and he chose to move." She didn't push it, but I could tell she felt guilty. She invited him to her wedding 2 years ago. I told her I wouldn't come if he was there. She cried. She said, "He's my dad too." I said, "He stopped being my dad a long time ago." I didn't go. She still speaks to me, but it's not the same. Then 3 months ago, my dad and his family moved back to our hometown. I don't know why. Maybe Jane's job fell through. Maybe he retired. I didn't care. But he started calling me again, relentless, every day. I blocked his number, so he used Emily's phone. I blocked that. He sent me a letter. I threw it away unopened. He showed up at my workplace. I had security escort him out. He left a gift on my doorstep, a photo album of me as a kid with notes written on the back. I gave it to my mom. She said, "He's really trying, honey." I said, "He's trying because his life fell apart, not because he loves me." Then I found out why he was trying so hard. Emily called me one night crying. She said, "Dad's getting divorced. Jane cheated on him twice. One of the affairs was with her best friend's husband. It's been going on for years." I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt nothing. He destroyed our family for a woman who betrayed him. Now he wanted back in. He started sending me texts from a new number. "I know I messed up. I was a fool. Please just let me buy you coffee. I want to meet my grandchildren." I have 2 kids, both under 5. He's never met them. My husband supports me no matter what, but my mom and Emily kept saying, "He's old now, he's sorry, give him a chance." I thought about it, I really did. But then I remembered being 16, watching the moving truck pull away. I remembered my recital. I remembered the voicemails I never listened to. I said, "No." Emily is furious at me now. She said I'm being cold. She said our dad is broken. I said he broke himself. I didn't do this to him. A week ago, my half-brother, the son he moved for, sent me a Facebook message. He's 18 now. He said, "I know you hate Dad, but can you talk to me? I'd like to know my sister." I stared at that message for an hour. I haven't replied yet. I don't know what to say. He didn't choose any of this, but I don't know if I can separate him from the pain. So right now, I'm still no contact with my dad. My husband says I should do what's best for my own mental health. My mom sends me articles about forgiveness. Emily barely talks to me. And every time my phone rings, I flinch, half expecting it to be him. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. Maybe when he's gone, I'll feel regret. But right now, all I feel is tired. Tired of being the one who has to forgive. Tired of being called cold. Tired of carrying this. I'm 33 years old and I've spent half my life trying to heal from a wound he gave me. I'm not sure I have the strength to let him reopen it. I never thought my best friend would try to destroy my marriage. I met Sarah when I was 11. I had just moved to a new country with my family, no friends, no clue how anything worked. My sister-in-law introduced us and we clicked immediately. She was loud, confident, always had a plan. I was shy, quiet, still learning the language. We balanced each other. We stayed close through middle school, high school, college. She was my maid of honor. She held my hand when I gave birth to my son. She was at every birthday party, every holiday dinner. I trusted her completely. I didn't see it coming. My husband and I have a good routine. I work in the office from 9 to 2, then I usually take a 30-minute break. Sometimes I go to his office. It's a 5-minute walk, or I hit a cafe near my job. Occasionally, I have to travel for work to another city. I always mention it to Sarah in passing. She'd ask, "Where are you going this time?" And I'd tell her, "Cincinnati, Columbus, nothing crazy. Last week, I was supposed to travel on Wednesday." Tuesday night, a red alert went out about the weather, major flooding expected, roads closing, emergency services telling everyone to stay home. My work thing got canceled. I stayed home with my 2-year-old. My husband left at 6 in the morning to make sure his business was closed and put up flood protection. By 7:30, he was back making pancakes. It didn't start raining until 1 in the afternoon. We literally didn't leave the house until Friday, so on Saturday I go to our regular gym class. Sarah is there. She seems off, distracted. She keeps looking at me between sets. After class, she grabs my arm and says, "We need to talk in private." We go out to my car. She closes the door and takes a breath. Then she says, "On Wednesday, I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out and your kid was in the car." I freeze, my stomach drops. For a second, I think I'm going to throw up, but then my brain catches up. Wednesday, I was home, he was home all day. I ask her, "Are you sure it was this Wednesday?" She nods. "Yes, positive." "About 11 in the morning?" "Yes." "During the red alert when nobody was supposed to be on the roads?" "Yes." I ask her again, "Are you absolutely sure?" She launches into this whole description. She says my husband was making out with a gorgeous blonde woman, like a Barbie doll, she says, in a car near a strip mall. She describes the car, the position, everything. She's so detailed, she's so convincing. If I had actually been traveling that day, I would have believed her, but I wasn't. I was sitting at my kitchen table in my pajamas, eating pancakes my husband made, watching cartoons with our son. I say he was home, we were both home, the trip was canceled because of the flooding. Her face goes blank. "What? Our trip was canceled? I told you I was home safe when you texted me," she says, "but I saw him." "You saw him doing what exactly?" she stammers. I thought it was him. "Was trying to help you. I didn't ask for your help." She starts crying. She says she was just worried about me, that she'd seen something similar happen to a friend once and she couldn't stand the thought of me going through that. She says she must have mistaken someone else for my husband. I say, "You described a strip mall we've never been to. You described a blonde woman he doesn't know. You confirmed it 3 times. She says, "I was trying to protect you." I tell her to get out of my car. She does. I drive home shaking. I tell my husband what happened. He's furious. He says she's trying to break us up. I say, "I know, but why?" We don't have an answer. I text her that night. I say, "I need the truth. Why did you lie?" She says, "I didn't lie. I made a mistake." I say, "You made a story, Sarah, with details. That's not a mistake." She doesn't reply. I block her number. I block her on social media. I tell my family what happened. My mom says maybe she was confused. My sister says, "That's weird. She's always been a little jealous of you." My husband says she wanted to tear us apart so you'd be single and she'd have you back. I don't know if that's true. But I know I can't trust her anymore. It's been 2 weeks. I haven't spoken to her. She sent me a letter saying she's sorry and she misses me. I threw it away. I don't know why she did it. Maybe she was jealous. Maybe she thought if I was single, we'd go back to how we were before I got married. Maybe she just wanted to cause chaos. But I can't be friends with someone who would try to destroy my marriage for no reason. I still don't understand it. But I don't need to understand it to protect my family. So I'm done, and I'm okay with that. I never thought I'd be writing about something like this, but here we are. My name's Amelia, I'm 27, and I've been engaged to the love of my life for 3 months. His name is George. He's 38, a recovering addict and the most honest man I've ever known. But none of that matters to my sister-in-law, Ella. Let me back up. When I first met George 2 years ago, I had no idea he was connected to my family. I was at a friend's barbecue and he was standing by the grill flipping burgers, laughing at something stupid. He was charming, a little rough around the edges, but he had this energy that made you want to be near him. We talked for hours that night. He told me he was working on himself, going to therapy, trying to get clean. He didn't shy away from his past, he owned it. I respected that. We started dating a few weeks later. I didn't mention him to my brother David right away because we're not super close. David is 5 years older than me, always busy with his wife, Ella. I knew Ella had been married to David for about a year at that point. I knew she had dated someone before him, but I didn't know who. Then one day, I posted a picture of me and George on Instagram. We were at a lake, holding hands, smiling. Ella commented, "Who's that?" I replied, "My boyfriend, George." She didn't respond. An hour later, my brother called me. He said, "Amelia, are you serious? You're dating George?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "That's Ella's ex. That's the guy she dated before me." I felt sick. I had no idea. George had never mentioned her name. He just said he'd dated someone briefly, that it ended badly, and he'd moved on. He didn't tell me she was my brother's wife because he didn't know my brother. It was a small world kind of thing, and I was in the middle of it. I called George immediately. He was quiet for a second, then he said, "I didn't know she was your brother's wife. I swear to God, Amelia, I wouldn't have hidden that from you." I believed him. He'd never lied to me before, but Ella didn't believe that. She was furious. She called me screaming, saying I was trying to steal her life, that I was dating her sloppy seconds, that I was a traitor. I tried to explain that I didn't know, that it was a coincidence, but she wasn't hearing it. She started spreading lies. She told my mom that George was grooming me. She said she was 25 and he was 36. That's wrong. My mom actually brought it up at dinner one night. I said, "Mom, I was an adult. I'm an adult. This isn't grooming." She told my dad that George was abusing me. She said he was forcing me to do drugs, that he was going to turn me into an addict like him. I had to bring George to my parents' house just to prove I wasn't covered in bruises. He showed them his therapy records, his clean drug tests. My dad was horrified. My mom was embarrassed. Ella didn't stop. She told my friends that George was only with me because I looked like her. She said, "He's obsessed with me. He's just settling for her." That one hurt, not because I believed it, but because I could see the jealousy in her eyes. She wasn't over him. George and I kept dating. We got serious. He proposed to me 3 months ago on a Tuesday night at the same coffee shop where we had our first date. I said yes, I was so happy. I posted the ring on social media. Ella saw it. That's when everything really fell apart. She showed up at my parents' house unannounced. My mom called me panicked, saying Ella was crying, saying she needed to talk to me. I drove over. When I walked in, Ella was sitting on the couch, red-faced, mascara running down her cheeks. She said, "How could you do this to me?" I said, "Do what? Get engaged?" She said, "He proposed to me first." I stared at her. "What?" She said, "When we were dating, he told me he wanted to marry me. He said I was the one, he was going to propose, and then he left. And now he's proposing to you. That's my ring, that's my life, you're stealing." I said, "Ella, he never proposed to you. He told me he didn't. He said you wanted marriage, but he wasn't ready." She said, "He's lying. He's always been a liar." She looked at my mom. She said, "I want her banned from family events. I can't be around her. It's too painful." My mom looked at me. I said, "I'm not going anywhere. This is my family too." Ella stood up. She pointed at me. She said, "If she comes to Thanksgiving, I won't. You have to choose." My mom said nothing. My dad said nothing. I sat there holding my engagement ring, wondering how I got here. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, Ella has sent my brother a dozen texts saying I'm toxic, that George is using me to get back at her, that I need to be cut off. David called me and said, "I don't know what to do. She's my wife, but you're my sister." I said, "She's lying, David. She's been lying since the start." He said, "I know, but she's my wife." I said, "And I'm your sister." He hasn't spoken to me since. Last week, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. It was Ella. She was drunk. She said, "You think you won? You think you're special? He's never going to love you the way he loved me. I made him who he is. You're just a placeholder." I didn't respond. I saved it. I showed George. He listened, his jaw tight. He said, "She's obsessed. She's not over something that ended 4 years ago." I said, "Why does she hate me so much?" He said, "Because I got better, because I chose you, because she couldn't fix me and you didn't have to." I don't know if that's true, but I know I can't let her control my life. My mom called me yesterday. She said, "Ella wants to have a family meeting. She says she's willing to forgive you if you apologize." I said, "Apologize for what?" She said, "For dating George." I said, "I'm not apologizing for falling in love." She said, "Then she's not coming to Thanksgiving. And your brother might not either." I said, "Then I guess it'll be a small Thanksgiving." She got quiet, then she said, "I'm not choosing sides." I said, "You already did." I hung up. I don't know if my parents will ever come around. I don't know if my brother will ever see through her lies, but I know one thing, I'm going to marry George. I'm going to have a happy life. And Ella can sit at home and stew in her bitterness for all I care. My wedding is in 8 months. I'm not inviting her. And if my family chooses not to come, I'll be okay. I've got George. I've got his family who have welcomed me with open arms. I've got my own sanity. I never thought my sister-in-law would try to destroy my engagement. I never thought she'd lie about abuse and grooming just to hurt me, but she did, and I'm done letting her win. So yeah, my SIL is bitter. Her ex proposed to me, and now she's banned from our family, at least from my side. I don't know if that makes me the asshole. But I don't really care anymore. I never thought my best friend would try to destroy my marriage. But here we are. I met Sarah when I was 11. My family had just moved to a new country and my sister-in-law introduced us. We were inseparable through middle school, high school, college, and into our 20s. She was at my wedding. She held my hand when my daughter was born. I thought we were family. I'm 29, married to Mike, 31. We have a 2-year-old daughter. My life was good. I worked in an office from 9 to 2 with a 30-minute break. Sometimes I'd walk over to Mike's office 5 minutes away or grab a coffee. Sarah and I talked almost every day. I told her about work trips, about my daughter's milestones, about everything. Last week, I had to travel for work on Wednesday. But Tuesday night, a red alert came through. Severe flooding expected. My work thing got canceled. I stayed home with my daughter. Mike left at 6 in the morning to secure his business, put up flood barriers, close shutters. He was back by 7:30 making breakfast. We spent the day inside. It didn't start raining until 1 in the afternoon. At 3, Sarah texted, "Are you home already? It's flooding where you were supposed to be." I replied, "Home safe." We didn't leave the house until Friday. Saturday, Sarah and I went to our usual gym class. After, she pulled me aside. "We need to talk in private." We went to my car. She looked serious. She said, "On Wednesday, I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out. Your kid was in the car." I froze. My mind went blank. Then I remembered Wednesday. I was home. Mike was home. My daughter was in her playpen, not the car. I asked 3 times, "Are you sure it was this Wednesday?" She confirmed each time. Yes. About 11 in the morning, during the red alert, I saw them. He was kissing this blonde woman in a parking lot. Your daughter was in the back seat. I asked her to describe the woman. She said, "Gorgeous Barbie lookalike, long blonde hair." I took a breath. "Sarah, I was home on Wednesday. Mike was home. We never left the house. The car didn't move." She blinked. "What? I was working from home. The trip was canceled because of the weather. Mike was with me all day." She got defensive. "Maybe it was a different day. Maybe you're confused. You said Wednesday. I'm not confused." She started crying. "I'm just trying to look out for you. I saw something. I thought you saw my husband cheating with a blonde, but you didn't because it didn't happen." She stopped crying. Her face went cold. "Fine, I must have been mistaken." She got out of the car and walked away. I sat there shaking. Why would she lie? What was the point? I called Mike. He was shocked. "She really said that? Why?" I didn't have an answer. I texted Sarah later that night. "I need to understand why you made that up." She replied, "I'm your best friend." I was worried. I said you tried to make me think my husband was cheating. She didn't respond. Over the next few days, I replayed every conversation we'd had. Sarah had been asking about our marriage lately. Are you happy? Does Mike help enough? Do you ever feel like you missed out? I thought she was just being a friend. Now I wonder. I talked to our mutual friend, Jen. Jen said, oh, she's been bitter ever since you got married. She thought you'd be single forever like her. Sarah is single. She's never had a serious relationship. She travels alone, parties alone. She always said she didn't want kids or a husband, but maybe she didn't want me to have them either. I haven't spoken to her since. She's texted a few times, I'm sorry, I was just trying to protect you, you're overreacting. I didn't reply. Last night my sister-in-law called. She said Sarah had been telling people I'm going through a divorce. She said Mike cheated and you're hiding it. I couldn't believe it. She's still spreading lies. I don't know why she wanted to sabotage my marriage. Maybe she wanted me to be miserable like her. Maybe she wanted more of my time. Maybe she's jealous of the life I have, but I know one thing. That friendship is over. I still get a knot in my stomach when I think about it. What if I hadn't been home that day? What if the trip hadn't been canceled? Would I have believed her? Would I have doubted Mike? I almost did. For a split second, I felt that cold dread. That's how powerful her lie was, and that's the scariest part. So now I'm careful. I don't tell people where I'm going. I don't post my schedule. I trust Mike, but I don't trust anyone else. Sarah tried to blow up my life. She failed. But I'll never forget that she tried. I never thought I'd see the day when my dad finally got what he deserved. But here we are. I'm 33 years old and I haven't spoken to my father in almost 17 years. That's not an exaggeration. I was 13 when he walked out on us for his affair partner. Now I'm sitting here listening to my voicemails and I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Let me back up. When I was 13, my dad had an affair with a woman named Jane. He left my mom and moved in with Jane. At first, me and my sister would visit every weekend. He was actually a good dad back then, took us to movies, helped with homework, came to my soccer games, but I never liked Jane. She was cold, always making comments about how much we ate or how messy we were. When Jane got pregnant and had their son, the visits got less frequent. Dad started missing my recitals and my sister's competitions because he was busy with his son's stuff. When I was 16, Jane decided she wanted to move for a new job, 10 hours away. Me and my sister begged him not to leave us. I remember crying in the driveway, holding onto his car door. He just said, I need to prioritize my family. I said, we're your family. He said, I have a new family now. That was it. He moved. I went no contact. I didn't call him. I didn't answer his calls. My sister stayed in contact, but I refused. He tried to invite me to visit, send birthday cards, show up at my sister's events. I avoided him. I didn't invite him to my high school graduation or my college graduation. I didn't want him there. Now I'm 33, married. I have my own life. My dad and Jane moved back to our hometown 3 months ago, and ever since he's been relentless. Texts, voicemails, showing up at my workplace. Even my half-brother, the kid he chose over me, started messaging me on Facebook. Hey, I know we've never met, but Dad really wants to reconcile. Can you just talk to him? I deleted the messages. Last week, my sister called me. She said, Dad found out something about Jane, something big. I said, I don't care. She said, you're going to want to hear this. Apparently, Jane cheated on my dad not once but twice, and it wasn't just any cheating. One of the affairs was with her best friend's husband. It all came out because the best friend found texts and confronted Jane. Jane denied everything, but my dad believed the evidence. He kicked her out. He's living alone now in a cheap apartment. He lost half his savings in the divorce. My sister said, he's been crying. He keeps saying he ruined everything. He wants to make it right with you. I said, he made his choice. He chose her, and she chose to destroy him. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just felt hollow. 17 years of anger, and now it's over. He's alone. The woman he left us for turned out to be a liar and a cheat, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for him. I don't. I got a voicemail from him yesterday. His voice was shaky. I know I don't deserve this, but I need to see you. I need to tell you I'm sorry. I was stupid. I was blind. Please just give me one chance. I saved the message. I listened to it twice, then I deleted it. I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to see him. He had 17 years. He had every birthday, every Christmas, every